Good day, I'm junior researcher Adam Southgate, and today's lecture will be covering the Fey Sphere's Elven Wasp. I'd appreciate that all hunters please subscribe as to not miss any future lectures, and also if you could recount any of your own interactions with the monsters of the spheres in the comment area of this video. So, to begin, as always, we'll start with our general announcements. To begin, the research team has now arrived and begun set up on the opposite side of the perpetual tear within Snowdonia National Park. Though things have been relatively quiet since the first, quite disastrous expedition, some rather interesting and somewhat disquieting events have taken place. The night before the research team arrived at the forward base, an extremely high-pitched sound began emanating from the direction of a small woodland. When the security team sent a squad to investigate the following morning, they found a peculiar scene. What looked to be an animal very similar to a badger, though smaller, torn in half at the waist and left uneaten at the base of the tree, with its fur covered in a strong, sweet-smelling, pollen-like dust. While investigating, the team also noted that the badger-like creature seemed to have fallen from the tree before its death, with several small scratch marks being noted along some of the branches and the trunk. Surprisingly, while other trees had creatures of the same species living within them, none bared any such marks within their bark. The arboreal badger-like animals seem to move incredibly carefully not to damage the trees they dwell within. On further investigation of the badger by the research team after their arrival, it was determined that it was cut in half with a stone-cutting implement. The team concluded that it very well may have been Homo floresiensis that killed the creature, though why they would leave the kill to rot is another question entirely. As the team makes themselves more at home, I'm sure even more mysteries will present themselves, and I for one look forward to future updates. Finally, the American equivalent organization, the RRR, or Roosevelt's Rough Riders, have been struggling of late with the increase in Fey activity that has been occurring wherever Celtic populations are over a certain threshold. Of the spheres that routinely breach within the American territory, which there are many, Fey is usually the most infrequent. Though their anti-incursion force is far more organized, well-funded, and well-equipped than our own, they simply lack the experience in dealing with this specific sphere. It has been asked of us, and of other Celtic organizations, to lend hunters of master rank or equivalent to act as advisors until the Fey sphere's increased activity diminishes. The head druid herself will be picking hunters for this task out of the collection of you that do volunteer. If you are interested in this temporary teaching position and are at the rank of master, please contact your local order office to put your name in for consideration. The Elven Wasp is a subspecies of Fey Elf, coming from the Meadow realm within the larger Fey sphere. Like many of the Fey, the Elven Wasp possesses a glamour, though thankfully for the research community, this glamour does drop upon death. An unglamoured Elven Wasp shares many of the telltale features of others within the larger Elven family, such as the ears that taper to a sharp point, 50% larger eyes than mundane humans, and thin, hollow bones similar to many flying birds. However, beyond those features that tie all elves together, Elven Wasps, when unglamoured, have some interesting and unique physical features. Their skin is similar in appearance to dried mud, being a pale tan colour and made up of hundreds of small dry plates with a thin line of moist tissue connecting them. Along with this, their mouth is closer in appearance to a cookie-cutter shark's, with both jaws being curved to create a near-perfect circle when at rest. However, when in use, the broken glass-like teeth move past each other, with one row moving underneath the other to create an effect similar to a cigar cutter. The Elven Wasps, though accomplished hunters in their own right, are more feared for their breeding strategy. The males, once they've reached full maturity and have bred, will die, as in their adult form they lack a mouth with which to acquire nutrients. The females of the species, however, once impregnated, will begin the most important hunt of their lives. Specifically, they will begin searching for a human of either gender to act as her guardian during gestation and as a meal for a brood during their early development. They achieve this with two main abilities. Firstly, as stated, their glamour, the female elven wasp being able to pause her larva's development inside her body will spend a great deal of time searching throughout the human population for an individual who is both at a high degree of physical health and resource independent. Once either a male or female target has been chosen, the expecting mother will shift her glamour to more closely align to the prospective victim's preferences in partner. Secondly, once the victim is targeted and the elven wasp has approached with their active glamour, they will attempt skin-to-skin contact that can be as simple as the back of the hand brushing past the victims. By doing this, they are able to collect the information they require to formulate within their own bodies a powerful pheromone. Apart from creating in the victim a strong infatuation, the pheromone also produces a fiendish secondary hallucinatory effect. Starting small at first, the victim will see and hear the elven wasp conversing with them, while in truth it is completely incapable of human speech. After a while, the victim's perception of others' speech and actions will also change, making them believe that all around them are happy for them and their new relationship. This effect has been witnessed to be so strong that even as being screamed at by a desperate father while the mother of the victim is crying at the sudden and increasingly distant relationship with the victim still fully believes that their parents were in full support of the new relationship. The final stage of the hallucinatory effect sees the victim lose all connection with reality, their body acting solely on a primal defensive instinct. I have a report for you written by one of our hunters who was tracking down one such pregnant elven wasp.
3rd of January, 1996. Spoke to the parents of Angela Prince. They were distressed, to say the least. According to them, Angela had met a man by the name of Martin 2 weeks ago. What initially concerned them was that Angela had quit her HR job the day after meeting Martin, and when questioned about this, had responded that she wanted more time to be with her new partner. This only worsened as, despite multiple requests to meet Martin by the parents, Angela would only state that he was very busy. Her parents, after a week had passed without contact from Angela and no response at home, contacted her friends to see if anyone had had contact. However, each reported that Angela had cut contact around the same time as she had with her parents. After this, the parents forced entry into Angela's flat to find it both devoid of Angela and almost all possessions. Apprentice note. Lee struggled with seeing the parents' distress, most likely knowing the danger of our job and the fact that he is one of the few of us whose family is not involved in some way with the Order. The interaction probably brought up some uncomfortable thoughts. 8th of January, 1996. With coordination with both the South Wales Police Service and Angela's bank, I've managed to obtain her bank statements for the past few weeks. Searching through, I found that firstly it appears as if Angela has pawned off most of her possessions and then made a very large in-person withdrawal, emptying her account. Going to the branch where the withdrawal was made, I was able to question the clerk who authorized the transaction. According to him, Angela looked malnourished, exhausted, filthy, and disheveled while wearing a disquietingly blissful smile. The reports by the gamekeepers seem accurate. I do believe I'm dealing with an elven wasp, and although it is far too late for Angela, I can dispose of the adult and her young. Apprentice note. Lee showed a great deal of interest in the investigation aspect of our job, though this is a good thing, it still worries me that it may be from a sincere hope to bring Angela home to her parents. Though this is a positive from one perspective, a level of detachment is necessary for this job, as usually the best we can hope for is to avenge a victim, not save them. 10th of January, 1996. I realise I'm supposed to leave mention of my apprentice until the latter part of each report. However, his efforts should take centre stage in this case. Lee spent the whole of yesterday, specifically 19 hours, researching and calling each hotel and B&B within an increasingly larger radius. He asked each, with the authority loaned to us by the police service, both if they had had any couples check in recently with large amounts of both food and cash, while also asking if said guests had not left their room or allowed anyone else entry. With this, Lee managed to find the match we were looking for within a small holiday cottage attached to a larger farm. The owner had reported both not seeing the couple leave the building after entering and all curtains being shut with the doors locked the entire time. I called ahead of our arrival to ask the local police to detain the farm owners and any other guests staying at any other cottages. Thankfully, once we'd arrived, all occupants had been removed from the property, allowing us to prepare unhindered by needing to avoid prying eyes. Entering the cottage, Lee was set upon by Angela, who had long since entered the feral state emblematic of such victims. Thankfully, the training I had given him did in fact kick in, with Lee putting her down with a shot to the center mass. I instructed Lee to sit in the car, after I had taken his firearm. While I moved forward, at the back of the cottage, in the kitchen, I found that the young had already burst and had begun eating their mother's corpse. Thankfully, still defenseless, it was a simple matter to put them down. Afterwards, I set fire to the building as standard practice dictates. Apprentice note: Lee, though only 17 and not from a family involved in this work, did exceptionally well. His determined investigation and quick reflexes will make him an exceptional hunter one day. However, I do believe it will be some time before he is desensitized to the more unsavory aspects of his chosen career. To be a little more informal, he is a good, clever, and empathetic kid.
When it comes to hunting elven wasps, investigation will take up the majority of your time. Hunting the males of the species is next to impossible, as they avoid almost all human contact. Your targets will exclusively be the pregnant females of the species, as this is when they will, by the nature of the modern world, leave clues for you to follow in the form of their victim's social footprint. As with the apprentice hunter within the report, you will have to come to terms that it is already too late for the victim. The pheromone used by the elven wasp does not decay over time, and remains within the victim no matter what treatments are given. It is also vital to remember that in 30% of cases, the victim's body will enter an unrestricted physical state, meaning that the limiters our body places on our muscles to stop us breaking our own bones is removed, making the victims a highly dangerous threat in their own right. Though the mother elven wasp, or her young, depending on which stage of birth they are at, are not typically a threat in themselves, they were or will be. Putting them down with projectile weaponry is best practice to avoid any unfortunate pheromonal incidents, followed up with a thorough burning of the area. As far as we can tell, elven wasps, unlike many other elves, are not sentient, possessing similar intellectual ability as the second half of their namesake. Everything they do appears governed by instinct, while the pheromone gives the victim simple commands like find a secluded, secure place. The victim's own mind does the heavy lifting for the pheromone, creating a dreamlike romance to justify the bizarre behavior. But that will be all for today. I hope you enjoyed. With Arthur's might and Merlin's wisdom, thank you.